We're rolling, guys.
We are rolling.
We got our backup. All is good in the world.
All right. So how do we do this?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while since we clubbed.
It's been a while since I have clubbed a book.
I never really liked that song that much.
Who did that song?
Stained, I believe.
Yeah. Remember, we got our banter. It ends on the person who knows who did that song.
No shame.
Hi there. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Book Club. I'm your host and conch holder this week, Dylan Crowder.
I'm Ansel Crowder.
And I'm Elijah Crowder.
And we are here to club the book The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Real quick, get this out of the way. At the top of the show, we will be running into some spoilers for the book The Road by Cormac McCarthy. So if you want to have it unspoilt, what you'll need to do is pause it right now, go read the book real quick, and then come back to this podcast. If you don't worry about spoilers, then listen on. So The Road is a story about a father and son traveling through a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and that's pretty much all the synopsis required.
I agree. That's pretty much all you need to set it up.
So with that in mind, let's go ahead and hear y'all's first impressions or overarching impressions of the book.
I wasn't really a fan. It wasn't terrible, but it just didn't keep my attention. And I say this every time. It's better than anything I could write, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. Elijah?
It's all right. No, you guys already know. I've already said several times. It is now my all-time favorite book.
A ridiculous claim.
No, not at all. I will attempt to extrapolate on why that is throughout this podcast, and I even wrote a little haiku about it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we'll get to that eventually. Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, my experience with this book, it was kind of difficult to read. I think the first part of the book is kind of a slog. It's kind of hard to get into, but once it grabbed me, it was fairly easy to go down that road and get to that stop sign at the end. But
see, I had the deadline of this podcast pushing me down the road. It never did grab me, and I never wanted to actually continue reading it. Other than I didn't want to come to the book club empty-handed. I did finish it, but yeah, not a page turner at all.
Yeah, I kind of had the same experience as well. What about it for you made it, like, what in particular made it not turn the pages?
I don't know. I guess, like, I mean, I think it was well written, I guess, but it just wasn't. I guess I felt like I probably was onto it a little bit. It was just like just them going through a situation that's completely hopeless, where hopeless and friendless and all that. And he did a good job of painting that portrait, but it just wasn't. It wasn't pleasant. I like pleasant stuff.
Well, I think that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
It really is one of the best portrayals of like a post-apocalyptic setting that I've encountered.
Yeah, agreed. And I would have to disagree with it with it having an overall hopeless connotation. I think that's part of the whole backbone of the book. Rebellion is built on hope, and and so is surviving with a child in an apocalyptic wasteland, apparently. And that's it. That's all they have is each other and hope that they can make it to the next day, which is in turn why I found it to be a page turner.
Cool. Interesting.
Well, it wasn't toward later that they even had a goal. Really, you didn't even they were. It was like, or maybe I just kind of snoozed through that part, but I didn't know exactly where they were going, and I didn't get the sense that when they got there, things would be any different. It's not like, hey, if we can just get to Mexico, then
yeah, I mean,
price margaritas.
We just got to get to Margaritaville.
Yeah.
Well, they say very early on, I think, that they're heading south. As long as they stick to the road and head south. And I think the idea is that it's going to be warmer in the south because it's nuclear winter is approaching. And they know, I think they say even early on, we can't make another winter. We've got to get south. So, yeah, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yep, very nice. So one thing I want to talk about with this book is something I know is fairly early on, and Elijah and I have talked about this a little bit in passing. It's about a quarter of the way through the book where I realized that the descriptions almost exclusively, everything is gray or ash or what is just dark.
I think dark, black, gray, ash.
But
are the four most used words in this book.
Specifically for me, gray, it seemed like it popped up every other page at least once or twice, which I'm kind of of two minds. Like it was a really effective way of setting the scene. Like it's obviously gray, skies are gray, the roads gray, fields are gray, trees are gray. But at the same time, it kind of seemed a little lazy. I don't know. What are y'all thoughts on that?
To me, that was probably the best part. Was the way that he painted this world, where it was just like I don't know. It was just like just a wasteland. It's kind of a run-of-the-mill regular wasteland or whatever. But he did a good job,
Gary, Indiana.
Is that what it was like?
Yeah, it sounds like Gary, Indiana.
More like Gray, Indiana. Am I right?
Oh, it's an anagram.
Well, I had this sensation. Have you ever noticed when you watch a DVD and sometimes the colors are washed out, or when you watch it on a new 1080p TV, the colors seem a little kind of just faded in a way. It's kind of like everything had that feel and all,
Right.
I don't know.
All right, I'm going to talk about something that I was going to hang on to for later, but I think this fills in perfectly. Did you search to see how many times the word gray was in the book?
I thought about counting it and adding it up, but no, I actually didn't.
There's got to be a search function. Someone on the HMS listenership should go ahead and do that for us.
Can I say something here? Because I think I'll forget it if I don't.
Yeah.
In addition to just how sparse the land, the surroundings are, did you guys notice that just the presentation of the text was also really sparse? There's no chapter. A lot of times it was. I don't know if this is a quality control issue or not, but sometimes some of the apostrophes and stuff were
right.
missing. They didn't use question marks for questions.
No quotation marks for the dialogue.
I mean, occasionally you would see some, and I don't know what that really is supposed to mean, other than we can't even afford apostrophes, y'all.
Well, that's exactly what I'm starting to get into. I think you hit on it pretty well. There is that the use of limited vocabulary. Everything's gray, everything's dark, is not only descriptive of what they're seeing and what they're going through. It's a mood setter. It's very. The text itself and the writing style itself, there's no flourishes to it. It is extremely stark and extremely dark and extremely gray. And I didn't notice that. To be honest, I didn't notice that with the punctuation being, because I think I got caught up in it pretty early. And another thing I noticed is several times throughout the book, he instead of it being a sentence, it would just be a noun. It would say, like, the gray road ahead, period, or the whispering dead pine. And it wouldn't tell you anything about it. It was just constantly setting up imagery, which I found to be very effective.
Right, and to kind of finish your point there, like the language kind of reflects the setting.
Exactly.
Like there's no food, no water, next to no food, no water. Several times they're on the border of starvation. As a reader, I was on the border of starvation several times reading it.
I hear that.
But no, that I actually like. I noticed that reading it, but I didn't connect the dots. But you saying that, it kind of pulls it all together.
Well, in that very vein, I want to go ahead and read the haiku I wrote for it.
All right,
It's
go ahead.
called The Road. The book, no pages. No cover on an ebook. The swiping right. This is very indicative of McCarthy's writing style throughout this knowledge. It's you have an image of what I'm you can see me sitting and swiping on my ebook, which is a phone because I can't afford to. But yeah,
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
there were some really cool phrase. There was some good phrase turning going on in the book that I enjoyed very much. I thought it was good. I guess a reason I didn't like it, just to go back to that. I mean, I just there were like parts where he's thinking to himself like, how is he going to shoot his child and stuff like that. Kind of that's a little gruesome for my taste, but
Well, see, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. But for me, like, going into this, what I had heard about this book is that, it's very grim. It's very gruesome at times, very depressing. And it didn't really affect me in that way. And maybe that's because I'm a cold, emotionless robot. or maybe it's just because I don't have kids. Like, and I didn't have that.
Yeah, I think it's probably more to do with that than.
I think absolutely that's correct. I had some real cringeworthy moments reading this book where I could almost put you can't put yourself in that situation, but you can sort of imagine. And the teaching the kid how to put the gun in his mouth and pull the trigger, like I had to put the book down and really just go for a little walk, just that imagery alone. And I will be 100% clear here. I was going to cheat on this podcast and just watch the movie. And
we gave you permission.
Yeah.
Lord
Did I have
forbid
permission?
you sully your record of having read everything.
I didn't sully my record. I was going to, and I'm a sucker. I watched the film, and that scene in the film shook me, like emotionally shook me. And I watched the film and immediately bought the book and read it after the film. And I'll go ahead and say it while I'm on the film too before we move on. If you haven't seen the book, you can pause now, or if you haven't read the book, you can pause now and watch the 2-hour film, and you really aren't missing much from the book at all. I mean,
and you actually told us that while we were kind of struggling getting through it. You're like, well, I mean, you can read the book or watch the movie, but before we move much further, I kind of want to say I don't think disappointed is the right word, but the ending kind of felt anticlimactic because the kid lived. Like I was expecting it to be like the grimmest, but
he painted this picture of hopelessness, and then he like put a happy little tree in it.
Yeah, it's like a kind of a Deus Ex Machina. Like every person that they meet on the road before the very end, like is a murderous scoundrel, or they're thieves, or there's no brotherhood. Like, why does this one guy who just so happens to show up after the main character dies happen to be a good guy?
Not the case. They were following them. They were watching them the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, so they didn't just run up on the kid at the end. That family, which I don't know if they're an actual family, they don't tell you, but he actually says, the woman says, we've been watching you for a long time. And they have the dog, and if you think back to when they first find the bunker with the food in it, he hears a dog above them, And from that point on, that family's behind them and watching them.
Okay.
And the man comes up and says, "The man that was with you, was that your father?" So they've
Right.
had
I caught
their
that,
eyes
but
on them. Yeah.
I didn't catch all of that. Was that related to the other boy that he saw?
I don't believe it is, and I think that was another just chance encounter in that town that they were in, where he happened to see a boy hiding in the building.
Okay.
I don't think it's the same boy, but it could be. Could very well be.
But yeah, to get back to it, I can't think of a better word other than disappointed, or maybe it didn't meet my expectations of, the grimness of the book. Sure, it was not like fun to read it, but at the same time, I was expecting much worse.
Well, I guess let's kind of put this in the context of its release date. This is around the time of like all the zombie stuff, like the zombies. What's that book called? Like Zombie Survival Guide or something like
World
that.
War Z.
World War Z.
Yeah. The Zombie Survival Guide. No, Zombie Survival Guide sounds really familiar.
That was
I don't
really
know if that's the actual name of it, but I remember that.
And there were all of these books like they rewrote classics and like like Pride and Prejudice and zombies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think this was a cash in, but I think he's probably influenced by it, because to me this is like a zombie. This is like a zombie story, but it's like the zombies are living people.
The real monsters were the humans
Yes.
all along.
This is like the Lord of the Flies all over again. But like he, what was I going to say? I don't know. You think about what a zombie would do to you if it got to you. That's the exact same thing that regular people were doing, and I think that's kind of like that's the thing I think he did really good. It's like it's a really good horror story that could actually happen, and for that reason, it is kind of terrifying. Terrifying for most people, probably not, but for me, because I'm a big pansy.
Yeah, I wasn't scared at any point reading this book. I don't know.
But the suspense is there.
There definitely is suspense, but not horror. Like,
no, I don't think I agree with that. I wouldn't say it was horror. I think one thing that I caught on pretty early that to me added to the suspense is whatever this cataclysmic event is that's put the Earth in this shape, you're never told what it is. You're told that there was a flash and a series of booms, but it never outright says that it was nuclear. It never outright says that maybe it was natural, something natural in the Earth that happened. Everything's covered in ash, could have been volcanic. And you're never given that. And like I think that's another thing that adds to the suspense is that you really don't know what's going on outside of the story of this man and his child and what they come across. And one other thing, just to back up a smidgen, if we will. Try this on as a perspective. You guys both said the ending left a little bit to be desired when you go through this trudge of hopelessness through the gray, dark ash that is gray and ashy and a bit dark. They're carrying the fire, and he uses that phrase. The boy says it several times. I don't think it's a hopelessness tale. I don't think that's at all the backbone of it. I think when you look at how this man and this son get up every day in hell and head further south, and he's just trying to keep his son alive for as long as he possibly, and he's very fatalistic. He knows they're not going to make it, and
right, and he develops a real nasty cough fairly early on, and I think he's aware of his impending doom.
Right. So, I mean, I think maybe take a look at it as I see the ending as fitting, and the reason is that the entire journey was not for nothing. You're left with a sense that the boy's okay with the people that he ends up meeting up with, and I don't think there's another way you can end this book. If you end it in a more tragic ending for the child, then you truly have one of the most depressing, horrible, sinister things ever written in the history of mankind.
And see, if that were the case, like it would be a little bit more memorable for me. just for
Fair
that
enough.
reason.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could have ended it anywhere and without having an ending. You know what I mean? It could have ended like exactly halfway through it, wherever. I don't know where that is, but just to sort of, to me, that would have added to the picture of like, again, I'm criticizing Cormac McCarthy, who won the Pulitzer Prize for this. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm saying like, you could, to me, it would be more effective if you didn't have anything happen to either of them. You just kind of cut it off in the middle as kind of like an ellipsis type thing where like, and this goes on and on and on and on and on. That would be sort of.
I would have hated that.
Yeah, but I think that's like, I think that would have been fitting for this book. Just like
The road goes ever on. Well, to be completely fair, I'm not sure what it says about me that I like this book so much.
your favorite book. That's crazy talk.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
That's
well,
nuts.
it's bold.
It's not.
It's crazy
It's
talk.
not.
You've
You're
read
talking
you've-
crazy.
You've read a lot of books.
I've read a lot of books, and I'm also a big fan of the Fallout game series.
Yeah.
Should I go ahead and go into that? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. The writing style is perfect for the story that it's telling. And I can't emphasize that enough. I've never read Cormac McCarthy before. I've seen No Country for Old Men. Dug it. Thought it was a cool movie.
Same here. I agree.
Did not know jack about it before that. Was going to watch The Road and was like, okay, this is Viggo Mortensen. It was good. And I decided, okay, I've got to read the book to see if the book is as good as the movie or else. And another thing behind that was I was watching the movie and I was like, God, they've got to be leaving a ton of shit out. You know what I mean? Like immediately I was like, there's no way that this is all. It's all of it. I mean, in the movie they leave out the part where the cannibals eat the baby after it's born.
Well,
Okay.
the way I read that is that they didn't actually eat the baby. Like they came on them and scared them off.
They were about to. They cooked
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
but
they just found spitted baby.
Yeah. Either way, I can see why they would leave that out. And then the second time they come across the people in the chains, like
Yeah, that was the worst part of the book for me. That was like,
what was that? Go ahead. And
the
talk
most
about that.
memorable. The most memorable part. It's like they come up on this. It sounds like a plantation house or something like that, and they're pilfering. Is that what you would do?
Oh no, you're talking about where they find the people in the basement that they're saving to
Yeah.
eat later. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's awful too. That's in the film.
Yeah, that's the part. When I think about this book, I'm always going to think about that scene because it was like, oh my god, you know what I mean? I was like, golly.
Yeah, and there's like you were led to believe that one of the people in there that was missing a leg was missing a leg because it was eaten.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that panic of them trying to escape. Yeah, that was the real deal. Holyfield.
Evander, the real deal Evander.
And it was good. I mean, it was terrifying. Again,
Ish.
for me, but that's the one scene I'll remember from this book because it was just like, oh yeah, that's intense. That's too intense.
While they're on the road, sorry, were you?
I was just going to say something. That scene, for me, it reminded me a lot of Lord of the Flies on how I was let down and that there was no cannibalism. I finally got my cannibalism payoff.
You got it, and then some. On this
Oh,
Is this
yeah.
recommended to you? Like if you like Lord of the Flies,
If you hate Lord of the Flies, you'll love The Road.
Right.
No, the other thing that wasn't in the film though is they meet two groups of like people on the road. The first one he ends up having to shoot the guy because the guy grabs his son. The second group they end up hiding successfully from them, and I believe the second group was larger and had like a truck with slaves pulling it. Or
I think the first group they had like it seemed like a semi truck or something.
right, it was like a deuce and a half or something.
The second group, I don't remember for sure. It was almost like they were a cult. They were like dressed in red.
Right,
And
that's not in the film.
okay. They had like I mean, I guess they all had like sort of masks or whatever. But yeah, it seemed like this was like a weird death cult. I think they had like heads on spikes or
A
something.
doomsday cult, maybe.
A doomsday cult, maybe. Yeah, perhaps.
Would be fitting.
But But didn't they have the old heads on the old spikes like most
the old,
most death
the old
Yeah.
heads on the old spikes.
Yeah, just
you know how we do.
Yeah. At least they're traditional.
I don't remember heads on spikes. I remember them getting somewhere and seeing heads on spikes and backing away from it, but like a house or something. But yeah.
Okay, but do you have anything more to say? You were talking about how it was your favorite book.
No, well, yeah, I was talking about, and I think I said this to you earlier. I know that this is not one of the greatest books ever written. I know it's not one of the greatest books I've ever read. I've read far greater works of literature. This is one of my, if not my, absolute favorite book. And I'm not too sure what that says about me. I'm really not. But I loved it. And I think a large portion of that goes to his ability to match the surroundings and the events taking place in the book with a literary style that I've seen before. It's very reminiscent of what's his name? The guy, the As I Lay Dying.
Oh,
Faulkner.
William
Faulkner. It's very reminiscent of the sort of sparse, quick. You don't really need a whole lot of information to make a sentence. But, Faulkner at the same time was famous for writing sentences that were a page and a half long, right?
Right.
But there are some things that Faulkner wrote that were just like short bursts of information. And this guy, this Cormac McCarthy fella, he's got it. I mean, the way this book is written fits the mode and the feeling of the book so well that I couldn't tear myself away from it to put it down. I could not, for the first time in a long time, actually physically stop reading the book. Like, things needed to be done, and I refused. I was like, no, I've got to find out what's here, what's going to happen to these two characters next.
Even after you've seen the movie,
Even after seeing the movie.
That's pretty high praise. For me, like the narrative just wasn't as compelling. Like, everything you're saying is true. Like the environment and the way it kind of compels those emotions is done very well. But again, the narrative at the end of the day, they're just walking down a road.
Well, on the other, something that you just made me think of, like, he has like everything is like stripped down. Everything is minimal, no punctuation, all this stuff. Also, the characters, you have like just two characters really, and they don't really say that much. But the fact that you can, I mean, you're so like emotionally invested into these characters. Maybe you weren't as
I just got hungry the further I went.
But anyway, I don't know what my point, I guess, was like.
Are you going to nibble on that leg? I mean, I know it's your leg, but are you going to nibble on it?
My only point was that it is kind of cool that he's able to do so much with so little, and I am interested in reading other books by him.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested in reading other books by him just to see if how conscious of a choice that was. Like the writing style.
Good idea.
Was that intentional to match the setting of the book, or is that just his voice, his natural voice is the only way I can think to describe that. So we might have to check out Blood Meridian or No Country for Old Men, something like that. And since it's Elijah's favorite book, I imagine we may check out some more work from this author.
We're definitely revisiting Cormac McCarthy in the future. I guarantee the HMS listener that.
I like this HMS listener.
I came up with that in the shower today.
The HMS listenership?
Yeah. Well, it's just HMS listener. It's a ship.
I'm sorry.
It's more like the SS Minnow.
Oh, the HMS. Okay, I got it. HMS listenership. All right.
No, HMS listener. It's a ship, yeah. Her Majesty's ship. Listener.
Okay.
HMS ears.
It was a short shower.
All right, so let's check out some notes.
Note time.
I'm just gonna kind of answer this since it looks like you don't have a copy of it. You don't have any notes.
No, I didn't have any notes.
All right, so the way we'll do this is, I guess you and I, Elijah, will go back and forth, and we'll find if anything sticks, if there's any good talking points.
I got an idea.
What's that?
You read a note, and we see if Ansel knows what it's talking about, what it's from.
Yeah, here's a better idea.
And then I'll read a note, and we'll say, what part of the book is that, Ansel?
Yeah, I can. That's what I'm saying. I can tell you. Like you say something that's highlighted. I can tell. I guarantee you, I can tell you which chapter it's in.
All right, go. This sounds fun.
All right. Okay, this note is just it's the narrator narrating the main character. It says, "On this road there are no God-spoke men. They are gone, and I am left, and they have taken with them the world. Query: how does the never to be differ from what never was?"
I actually highlighted that in my ebook. That's the only thing I highlighted, and my note was like, "How indeed, Cormac."
Yeah, a lot like when we did Vacation Land by John Hodgman. Several of my highlights are just things where is a particular well-turned. It was a particularly well-written phrase, and it just kind of caught my attention, and I highlighted it. And that was one of them. I don't really have much to say about that, but it was real nice to think about that.
Did you come up with an answer?
Well, I think the point is that there is no
difference. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking too. I was just making sure that
We're on the
you were
same
thinking
page.
it. Yeah. I just wanted you to say it first, just so I'd know if you knew.
So what chapter was that in?
That was in the first chapter, I believe. Pretty early on. First 20 pages. What else you got? Lay it on me.
All right, my note. I found it funny that at times in the book, like from the narrator itself, there would be just well-worded things that maybe even gave you a chuckle, and this was one of them. And you can tell me who he's talking about, Ansel. The narrator says, he had a tattoo of a bird on his neck, done by someone with an ill-formed notion of their appearance.
Was that the guy that he shot?
Ding!
Yeah,
Score
see?
yourself 5 bonus
All right.
points. That was the guy he shot.
Used one of his 2 bullets on him, right?
That's right.
He did. He had 2 bullets.
Oh, how lit was that he made bullets out of wood just so it looked like he had a full
That was
Had
pretty
a full
clever.
cylinder in his revolver.
dude, I mean, yeah, the man.
Hey, the dad was brilliant. The dad was brilliant.
The character was the man.
Yeah.
The man and the
Oh,
boy.
yeah, the man, not the dad. Yeah, you're right.
The dad man.
Dad.
That does kind of remind me of one thing I wanted to say. Like the book kind of reminded me of. It was like watching somebody play. You mentioned Fallout earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It was like watching somebody play Fallout, but like with no ammo and trying not to kill anybody.
Hardcore mode.
Yeah, it's like super hardcore survival mode, but it was just. It's kind of boring to watch somebody play a video game.
There was that there's that game. That was a cool game. It's called Eco. Did you guys ever play that game?
No.
It's kind of. It just made me think about it. You're kind of going through a wasteland.
Eco the Dolphin?
No,
for
not
Sega
Eco the
Genesis?
Dolphin. No. This is Eco for the PS2. It's the same team that did like Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian is the
Okay.
new one. But I think this was maybe their first game. But that's all it is. It's like you're guiding this sort of this character through this sort of wasteland with like there's nothing but like shadow monsters or something like that. And it sounds bad, but it's just really cool. Yeah, you saying Fallout is like, yeah, this actually kind of reminds me of Eco a little bit. I didn't think about it at the time.
Well, the game that this really reminded me the most of, if we were going down that road, is The Last of Us for PlayStation.
I didn't play that.
3/4. It's the same folks that make the Uncharted series. But yeah, it's more of a zombie kind of thing. But it's a guy traveling through the wasteland with a young girl, young teenage girl, preteen maybe, tween, I guess is the term. But yeah, the reason I compared it to Fallout is because when you think of Fallout, the first thing you think of is not the narrative. It's more so the gameplay and just the environment and itself.
Desolation of
right. Whereas Last of Us has a really good narrative to it.
Okay.
All right, let's do another note here.
Who's winning?
You are.
Nice.
Yeah, you're two for two.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, this is. I don't really remember if this is like a flashback or if it's a dream, but it's the man talking to his deceased wife or the mother of the child, which I believe she killed herself at some point after
with obsidian, which I don't know how you would do that, but I don't really even know what obsidian is.
It's a rock. You could shape it into a.
It flakes really easily.
Yeah.
And I think they even say in the book that it flakes to, you can have an atom's thickness on the edge. Yeah.
Okay, so what did she do?
She probably
slashed her wrist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is a conversation that she is having with the man before that happened. She says, a person who had no one would be well advised to cobble together some passable ghost. Breathe it into being and coax it along with words of love. Offer it each phantom crumb and shield it from harm with your body. As for me, my only hope is for eternal nothingness, and I hope it with all my heart. And this is talking about how, like, she's trying to give him advice on how to survive. Like, just before that, she says, the one thing I can tell you is that you won't survive for yourself. And I know because I would never have come this far. I don't know, just a good little quote there. Real lighthearted banter.
That was the man's wife.
Yes.
Ding! You're on a roll.
Yeah. Now this is a depressing book. We're at the time of.
It is not a depressing book.
That's pretty.
It's not a depressing book. Look, this is what she's telling him there. She's saying, "You got me this far," and she says earlier in the book too that because the child was born, and we overlooked this. The child was born on the night that the shit started going down. When whatever happened to the world happened on the night the child was born. And she says at some point in the book that her heart was ripped out of her on the night of the child's birth. And so he's kept her alive all this time. And I think you see that more clearly in the film, maybe, because they do a lot more cutbacks to him and the woman.
Okay.
And that's not depressing. She's right. It's the kid that gets him up and gets him going every day. It's him protecting the kid that's his spark, his fire that he's carrying. It's not depressing. It's a book about hope where there is none, which is the most human thing imaginable. Do I get 5 points?
I'll allow it.
Okay, cool.
You got a note?
Oh, a note.
While you're pulling it up, I'll
Yeah,
say
go ahead.
Cormac relied a little bit too heavily on the whole they're about to starve to death, and then they find a house that nobody had seen before that's full of food. You know?
Yeah.
It was a survivalist bunker. I thought.
Well, there
there's
was one.
one.
There was one where you found like the apple orchard with all the.
The apple orchard, and then there was a house, just a regular house, where they found all those
like
preserves,
canned goods. Yeah.
Preserves,
some praline preserves.
some praline. No, it was Titers, I think, Titer preserves.
How do you preserve taters?
I don't know. That's what they was, right?
Precious. Taters precious.
Well, they had to cook them. That's the thing that was like we got to cook them because it might be poisonous because they're potatoes. Anyway, the point being, the whole the whole
We're starving to death.
undiscovered bank of food saved them thrice, and it was like.
Yeah, and kind of going back on what Elijah was saying a moment ago with I didn't realize that the child was born the night of the disaster or whatever it was that shook the world. That means that there's been, about 10 years. I don't know if it gives a specific age of the boy.
The boy's 11, 12-ish, yeah.
Okay. So that means like 10 years of people like rating every single. What was that?
I said, dude's tall. He's 11, 12.
Nah. But yeah, they there's been 12 years of people rating every single square inch because I mean, from the way the book presents it, like the world's dead. There's no animals, there's no crops or anything. So the only food is
Other people.
And preserved
stuff from the old
canned
world.
goods.
That have all been snatched up at this point.
Right. So yeah, point to Ansel for pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good job. Well done. I didn't realize that it was 3 times, but that's the suspense building up to we're starving. Okay, we're not.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, they come up on that plantation and they open the basement full of, you know,
Snacks.
Yeah, snacks. And you gotta, you go through your, I guess, you give people the benefit of the doubt, and you want to say that they're not eating those people, but you got to go, okay, well, maybe they're forced slave laborers. They're like, well, ain't no work to be done. And then you go down the list, it's like, yep, they're getting eaten.
A bit at a time, apparently.
Yeah.
It's gross. There's really gross parts in it. There's really sad parts in it. Which brings me to the next. I'm going to do 2 notes at once because they're both very short sentences. And I'm not sure. One of them I made on December 20th and one I made on the 21st. So I'm not sure entirely how close they are in the book. That's the question. All right. No, not really. The first one is, like you said, you guys say depressing. I say sad.
It was
tragic.
depressing.
Sad, tragic, but kindled with the fire that they're carrying. All right. And here it is. Here it is. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it. What a beautiful line. I mean, they're on borrowed time. The earth is no longer ours. I don't really get the borrowed eyes. Maybe they're a little bit cannibalistic too. But next thing I noted is, okay, this is what the good guys do. They keep trying. They don't give up.
Okay, yeah. One thing about that, the thought of them carrying the fire and them having this hope, I don't think you can include the man in that. His hope is dead. He has no hope for the future.
Mm-hmm.
If it weren't for the boy, he would have been long dead. And also, I don't think he's one of the good guys.
He's not.
Like, he trusts no one. He's kind of a bad guy. Like, there's that one encounter where the guy steals their shopping cart with all their goods,
Mm-hmm.
and they chase him down, and he forces him to strip down, and he just takes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, the kid talks him into going back and leaving him his clothes and stuff. But yeah, he just has a general mistrust of everyone. And I mean, I'm sure that's an earned mistrust, but I do not think he is carrying any sort of fire. And
No, careful there. This is a man who's protecting his son's life at all costs, even at the cost of his own humanity. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm just saying you can't paint it quite so quickly. You can't. That's one of the things I liked about the book as well. Is there were times I hated that character, hated him, but then when I would step away from the book and think about it, I could totally see where he was coming from. To be he's basically an ass and a thief, but he's doing it all to keep his son alive. So is that not in a way admirable?
I mean, to a certain extent, but I think give it a few more years, and the child growing up in this wasteland, he's going to eventually become the same.
Right. That's true. That's true too.
But I mean, you're a millennial.
Yes,
You don't know.
We've established that on the show.
You don't know jack about nothing.
That's
in,
true.
In the real world, right?
That's true.
You're in this little bubble. Dude's been in this wasteland for 12 years. I'm talking about my man, the man. And he's been in this wasteland for 12 years. There's yeah. What do you expect? Again, Generation X and Millennial here.
Here's the thing: in a post-apocalyptic situation like that, in order for humanity as a whole to continue, there has to be some sort of teamwork. And by him being such a insular, I don't know if that's the right word.
Such a crotchety. He's crotchety.
He's crotchety. He doesn't trust anyone. Like, he's ultimately damning his kid to continue to live in this world the way it currently is.
Okay. I'm going to disagree again. I don't think he's crotchety. I think he's protective as F. Okay, he's protected. How do you AF? Protective AF. That's how you do
There you
that.
go.
You said as F.
Yeah.
That works too.
Oh, okay. All right. He's very protective of the child. And yes, you would be 100% correct in your extrapolation of how that child is going to end up if the man doesn't die. And the man does die in the end. And what you're left with, one of the last things that the narrator says, is that the woman that they find on the beach that leaves with the kid, would later speak to the child about God and when things were good on the earth. And so you have this sense that the man on the beach seems like kind of a shady duck until you get into the conversation and you realize, okay, this guy's going to take care of the kid. He's not going to eat the kid. And that's the first thing that the kid's trying to find out. But then later it says that the woman speaks to the kid and would comfort him at night and speak to him very often about God. And so you get this idea, regardless of what your religious belief is that the kid comes out of it to the good. The kid has a family, he has a brother and sister now. They have a dog unless they get really hungry. So in essence, the father has done his job before he dies. The man has saved this child.
And the kid is conscientious too, so that's something that,
And the child is the only force of good in this novel. Anytime that the man stands up to take or to hurt or to maim or to, the child is sick from any violence or any hurt or any hunger that he sees. That's they say carrying the fire throughout the book. The child is the fire. And after the man passes, the child tells his corpse, I will never forget you. And he goes on with these people. And I think the last thing it says is that the child never looked back. So you also get this sense that everything that the man had done to get the child there, even if the child doesn't understand why, he understands that it was done for him.
Okay, I can buy that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Love this book. Love it. Absolutely love it. The dichotomy of the man and what you were just saying, him being miserly and crotchety and violent and wrong, and why he was doing that, and the child being the direct opposite of that, and them playing off of each other just through the simplest little discussions. Daddy, are we the good guy? Yes, son, we're the good guy. Are we the good guy? Yes, son, we're the good guy. That's awesome. The way they played off of each other is awesome.
All right, so I'm going to see if I've got any more choice notes here.
Choice bits for us to chew on.
Yeah, some tasty man meat. Here's the thing I highlighted. There is no God, and we are his prophets. That was a good phrase, and
that was that kooky old man that they found, and the kid wanted to feed him their food, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he's a little.
That sounds right.
He's a little crazed old lunatic guy, and I didn't care for him actually.
Yeah, he says his name is Eli, right?
Yeah, he said that.
But he's like,
that's not my name.
Yeah.
He says, how old are you? And he says, 90. He says, no, you're not. Is that what you tell people to keep from being beat up? And the old man says, yep. And the man says, does it work? And the old man says, nope. And I don't know why I'm laughing at that. This book, I'm an awful person.
But seriously though, what did he get to eat? If they were having such a hard time and just barely scraping by, I don't know. I guess he said that people would just come by on the road and feed him.
He did say that.
But he didn't have anything to lose. I guess he wasn't afraid of getting
Killed.
Getting killed.
Getting it. All right. I think that at that point I kind of stopped taking notes. I was just kind of in a sprint to the finish line there. You got anything else there, Eli, if that is your real name?
That's not my real name. Let me look real quick. I can't remember the context or why I even highlighted this. So this should be a good one. Yes, we're carrying the fire. When we're all gone at last, then there'll be nobody here but death, and his days will be numbered too. He'll be out in the road there with nothing to do and nobody to do it to. He'll say, "Where did everybody go?" And that's how it will be. What's wrong with that? And this brings me back to being younger and having the realization that one day the universe is going to, our galaxy, like all galaxies, don't last forever. We're not going to be around, but the idea of something having been here and being gone, which in this book, in this case, is human civilization, that's the natural order of things, actually. And I hate to be fatalistic and sound even more depressing in what we try to make as a funny podcast from time to time. But that's the tone of this book. And it's to me, such a monument of human understanding and writing that you see in this story, from everything else that assails these two characters, you see the child and the father as really one of the last two bastions of human civilization. And it's interspersed throughout the book where the kid plays music and the father says, maybe that's the last music on the face of the earth. This idea, though, that regardless that the world has fallen down around them quite literally, the child is still a saint, a human saint who really cares about the people that are suffering in the book. And the father, be it his only fault, cares only for the child and nothing else. That's beautiful to me. Just the premise alone, even if it wasn't written as well as it was, would make a damn good story, I think. And it being written as well as it was, I think you could go back, and people will go back and do what college courses do and beat this book to death trying to get even more deeper meaning out of it. It's there and you don't have to look for it. And it's there the entire time you read it, whether you know it's there or not consciously. And I think that's why I love this book so much. Tip your server.
Well,
nice.
I'm glad you feel so strongly about it because
I'm
honestly,
glad you found a new favorite.
I don't think we could have gotten
Absolutely.
an hour out of it otherwise.
Yeah, seriously.
So I'm going to take off on the next one.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I guess unless there's anything else, the time has come for the rankings of the book. So going once, going twice. Anything else before we get to rankings? Sold to the man with the microphone. All right, so rankings on this book, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Does anybody have that ready in their head?
No.
Yes.
All right, Elijah, as so often on this episode, lead us down this road.
All right. Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Real quick. 5 out of 5 Nuka-Cola bottle caps. You got it. They're jingling in your pocket. I hate apocalyptic stuff. I love apocalyptic stuff. The good stories and the bad stories come from it. This is awesome. And all of you out there on HMS Listener, go get it. Go read it. Don't think too much about it. Just love it and hang on to your bottle caps.
All right. Ansel, you got a rating?
I don't have one. Do you have one?
At this particular moment in time, the answer to that question is no. But let me think on that for just a second.
Okay.
While they think about it,
I'm going to try to U2 this one together.
okay.
And
Uno,
I might
dos,
need some
tres,
help.
catorce?
That album, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb,
Uh-huh.
I give it... And there's also the U2 album Boy, right? And
Are you thinking about U2 War that has the boy on the cover?
no, I think their first album was called Boy.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Let me ask Google.
I give The Road by Cormac McCarthy one charred Joshua tree.
What was the name of the first U2 album?
U2's first album is Boy.
Boy.
Look at you. 5 more bonus points, Ansel.
So I'm going to give it...
That's actually a -5 for knowing that.
What's wrong with... All right. We don't have time.
Yeah.
Different podcast.
He was all into Stained and U2.
It's been a while since I've listened to either of those bands. But I'm gonna give it the 2 U2 albums. I'm gonna give it Boy, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, and Charred Joshua Tree. Can I borrow that, or is that yours?
Yeah, you can borrow that.
What other U2 albums can we throw in there?
What was that one that they put that was like automatically downloaded to iPhones or something?
I think that was Songs of Innocence.
There you go.
Beautiful Day. That wouldn't work.
No, I think their most recent album is like an iTunes exclusive.
Well, I think they did the William Blake. I think they had Songs of Innocence and then Songs of Experience. Songs of Innocence came out a few years ago, and I think it was just automatically...
just slid into that.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember if that was the album, but I do remember them pissing off everyone with an iPod.
But, yeah. So, U2, good music for...
The End of the World?
The End of the world. There's a U2 song about the end of the world. Crap. What's the name of that song? Hold on. Let me ask Google again. What's the name of that U2 song about the end of the world?
U2 Events The Edge compositions composed Tulsa, Oklahoma, St. Louis, Mo, San Jose, California, and others.
St. Louis Mo?
Okay, there's a song here called Until the End of the World. That's on Octoon Baby. Nah, they don't get Octoon Baby. They get How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, Boy, and Charred Joshua Tree. I liked it, Dylan. Good job. That should have bought you enough time to think of your rating.
Well, the thing is, it did not.
Let's process of elimination it. Did you like the book?
Okay.
Go from there.
That's
where my rating failed.
Okay.
You don't really get a sense of whether I liked it or not from the U2 albums.
Okay, here's what I'll give it. I'll give it a overcooked hunk of meat.
Man flesh.
Well, I did. That's not what I said. I did not specify the type of meat, but it's meat's good. Meat's tasty. Everyone loves meat.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah.
There's no group of people that specifically does not eat meat. Everyone loves it.
Yeah. If they don't, they're not really people.
It's overcooked though. It's charred, and it's hard to chew, and you get the sense that it could be better, but I mean it still sustains you. It still gets you going down the road.
That's pretty damn good. And
That's
I'm going to change.
Well thought out rating.
See, that's what happens when you take a moment and just
Well thought out rating.
Well,
let it marinate.
I need to change mine because I said my rating doesn't give you a sense of whether I think it's good or not. I'm going to change it to just
When you say U2, I assume it's not good.
well.
Unless it's like the Edge walking off stage, then it's good. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google "The Edge walks off the edge."
Oh my God, that was so good when the Edge walked off the stage. but I think I'll just do Charred Joshua Tree because Joshua Tree to me is a disappointing album. It's got the ingredients for a good album. You got your Brian Eno, you got your Charles Clayton Jr., Adam Mullen Jr.
Yeah.
You got your Bonovox. That's what he was originally.
What was it really? Bono Vox?
It means good voice in like Swahili. or
Oh
something.
my God! No, that would be like
Swahili.
Latin.
Is that not Latin?
Oh yeah, it would be.
Swahili.
Sorry for the implied cultural appropriation. Bonovox.
I didn't know it was originally Bono Vox.
Yeah,
That's-
he changed it pretty quickly. Good.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
to his credit. Okay, I'll just give it Charred Joshua Tree. That's my rating.
Okay.
And also, I don't want to get sued by YouTube by putting their record covers on our
So you can
product.
just do a picture of a charred Joshua tree.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. Well done.
So-
Well done.
Very good. Very good. Well,
I'm just like I'm pulling my rating out, just like YouTube pulled their Songs of Innocence back after.
Well,
People were irate.
if you're changing your ratings, I'm going to go ahead and throw 3 more bottle caps in the pile. So it's now an 8 bottle cap.
Okay.
book for
8
me.
bottle caps?
Yeah,
We can
8,
do that.
8 bottle caps.
Hell yeah!
I mean, really, you can't really get that much with 8 bottle caps.
It's a start.
You can't even get one purified water.
It's a start in Cormac McCarthy world, which is where we're going with this podcast.
Okay, excellent. Well, guys, I think we clubbed the hell out of it. Probably not funny, but I think that's the fault of the book more
Well,
so than us.
I was thinking too, like it's this episode will come out late January.
Yep.
We're reading it in January, which is the most depressing time of the year. It's a depressing book. You can't make this funny.
It's not a depressing book. It's a book about hope.
It's about
Okay.
hopelessness.
Well, yeah, let's go ahead and pass that conch. Ansel, take it away.
All right, got it. My book choice for next week is a book called Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. I believe you pronounce her name. I'm not sure. Persepolis is not a graphic novel. It's a graphic memoir, a graphic autobiography. Marjane Satrapi is a graphic artist and an author, entrepreneur, and it's a book about her upbringing in Iran before, during, and after the Islamic Revolution. And
Interesting.
Yeah, it's something that it came out like 10 years ago or something like that. I'm culturally about 10 years behind on everything. Slowly trying to catch up, so I want to read it.
Just wait until you get to the Black Eyed Peas. It's going to blow your mind.
Really?
Oh wow! But it's written like a graphic novel. It's pictures. It's not a graphic novel. It's a graphic memoir.
It's written like a graphic novel, but it's not a graphic novel.
Okay.
It's a graphic autobiography.
Okay.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
Sounds very
It should
interesting.
be interesting. All right, guys. You can have this conch back. You can take us home.
All right, I'm going to take this conch and I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening to Book Club. We enjoyed having you here. You can catch us every 2 weeks, as you know, at bookclubcast.com. Tweet at us at bookclubcast. If there's any glaring omissions, if there was some theme in the road that we did not catch, tweet it at us. And yeah, we might give you a shout out on the next episode. Or if you have a book that you think we should club, tweet it at us or email it to us at bookclubcast@gmail.com.
Or leave us a message on Facebook that we would definitely drop everything we're doing
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and read whichever book you left for us to read.
Right, and I'm on Reddit all day anyway. So if any of you use Reddit? No, I don't. Never mind.
I'm a Twitter man.
We've got nothing on Reddit, man. No one's been on there but me.
Yeah, I will confess that I don't even check
Yeah.
it.
Well,
And I'm on Reddit all day as well, but I just don't go to.
well, we're there. r/bookclubcast. If any of you nerds use Reddit, we're there.
All right. Well, anything else, fellas?
No.
All All right. Well, we're going to take it on out here. Once again, thank you for joining us. Catch us in 2 weeks when we club Persepolis by, what was that name again?
Marjane Satrapi.
Or Marjane Satrapi.
That I'm going to say that's not right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye now.
Goodbye.